Welcome back to SouhanUnfiltered.com. This is Jim Souhan. Latest podcast with Glynn, Major League Twins coach, who has a long history in Minnesota. Gene, let's just get right into it. We don't have a lot of time today. Tell me about growing up in Minnesota and what the odds were that you would end up, in the big leagues with the Minnesota Twins, your hometown team.
Wow, I don't know about the odds, but that had to be a really long shot. Probably like winning the lottery, but it was great growing up in Minnesota. I know it was a small town of it grew to about 10,000. Right? Waseca, Minnesota. Mm-hmm. And we had 14 children in our family, so I had 13 siblings and a farm, the whole works. But, to me it's just a great place to live, even though now we live back there and had moved to Denver and moved to a couple other places. It's just a peaceful, warm place with a lot of great people. And
I talked one of my earlier talks with Corey Koski, and he was telling me he really thought it benefited him to grow up on a farm where it wasn't about video games, it wasn't about watching TV, it was about hard work. And when you got free time, you actually had to go invent a way to play a game. Was that what it was for you?
Yeah, you make me laugh. The video games, I was a little bit before that.
Yeah, well, that's true. Well, I guess that's true.
But you are right. I'm sure when Corey came through, there was a lot of video games, but I got him by a few years. Anyhow, yeah, you created things. And I remember my mom and dad, they'd say, hey, go outside. And it could be really cold, and that wasn't they weren't being mean to us. It just said, hey, you got to go out and burn off some energy or experience the weather, the snow. We didn't go very far some days. But, we had all we had cattle and we had a couple horses. And it was a true working, running farm with a lot of cropland.
And so how much time did you have to play sports?
We played every minute we had any free time.
Yeah.
If it was basketball in front of the garage. And fortunately for us, we played baseball all summer whenever we had time, even almost to sundown, and football in the fall. But we had a great area. We had Denny Eustace and Mike Conkey and Terry Conway and the Schmidt boys and the Gleasons. And we had quite a crew out there. It was almost like a in-city block. We could create our own team and play against each other. No, it wasn't all 9-on-9 or anything like that. But, yeah, we had a good group of guys in that 2 to 3 mile radius that would all gather at different farms at times.
That's great. And I know that you were a very good basketball player. I mean, obviously your life became baseball, but you were a Mr. Minnesota basketball player, and you played at Mankato, what was then Mankato State, right?
Mm-hmm.
Point guard?
Point guard, yep. And as a matter of fact, and I know this won't be broadcast today, but Butch Raymond, my college coach, is going to be here today.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
pretty famous college coach, too.
Yeah, Butch Raymond was a good guy. He's now the commissioner of that league. So I'll see him. And, we had good teams in college, too, and he did a great job, him and Jerry Bodelson. And we were mainly based Minnesota guys, but we had people from around the country, too.
And so how did you end up with baseball instead of basketball?
Well, partly because of my size, I think. I think I was always obviously going to not be a plus when it came to going to the next level because of the dunk was in there, but there was no three-point line at that time.
Right.
There was a lot of things that have changed, I think, for the better in basketball, but you face it, everybody has gotten a little taller. There's a rare few guys of my size maybe still playing.
How tall are you, by the way?
5'9".
Okay.
So it was always a little bit of a disadvantage people thought of to have a smaller guard. Now, I never thought that because I was always playing and thought you're just who you are.
Mm-hmm.
But no, basketball was, it kind of took me to college and it got me through. And baseball, they allowed me to play baseball at a Division II school, and that's the big reason I went to play both sports. Mankato was close to home. Like I said, had a big family, and many of them enjoyed coming to the games, and it was just another reason to get out on a cold winter night, and go somewhere. But it was a good time for all of us, really, in our family to gather, usually after a game if it worked out. But they put on a lot of miles, too.
I would imagine.
But anyway, baseball was one sport that I really liked. And Dean Boyer, who was the coach at Mankato, I'd leave basketball and go right to the baseball practice, when our season ended. And that one had already started. And one year I got right on the bus, I think, the next day and went on the Texas spring baseball trip. So they were all good with it. So it made it really easy to go from basketball to baseball.
let's kind of jump to the current now. You interviewed for the Twins managerial job last year, and I talked to Terry about it on a previous podcast, and he was saying that you wound up being a very strong, very viable candidate. He said you were a finalist, you were in the final three, and he said that a lot of it's because they know you very well, obviously, but he said also because he felt like you were incredibly well prepared for the interview process, and you had good answers to every question. Did you have good answers to every question because you prepped for it, or because you've always thought that way as a baseball guy?
Well, I think both. I definitely wanted to be prepared, but I think I do think, a lot about the game and the players in it, but the game first. So when someone asks me a baseball question, for me, I do base it off what goes on in the game, not always the personnel that we have at that time. So I just try to stay grounded in the game and be able to, it's just like teaching. You teach hopefully what you preach, but also what you've learned, and pass on what someone's passed on to you. So, and I've been lucky to be around a lot of really good baseball people that continue to talk about the game.
Can you give me a couple examples?
Well, yeah, Don Baylor. You mean people? Yeah, Don Baylor, Jackie Moore, Don Zimmer. Those would be, three guys. Larry Bernarth, I thought, was outstanding at pitching. I really just felt that there was that. Don and I are about the same age, and so, but Zimmer is gone now. Larry Bernarth is gone. Jackie Moore, who just left the Texas staff, just over a year ago. I coached with all of those guys. Felipe Alou was unbelievably, when it came to just inside the game, one pitch, at a time, how he kept track of things. I played for him in the minor leagues, coached for him in the minor leagues, coached for him in the big leagues. 5 different seasons. He was really something. But even guys like Dave Righetti, Bruce Bochy out in San Diego or San Francisco now, we were together in the minor leagues as young managers, and I've just always been really fortunate to be around guys like that were well grounded in the game. Well,
and you ended up on a couple of staffs, if I'm not mistaken, with Don Baylor. How did you guys become friends and colleagues?
Well, the expansion of the Colorado Rockies. When I was hired there as a field coordinator, I came over from San Diego. Don was hired as the first Rockies manager the following fall. And because I was the field coordinator, he was the manager, and we had the expansion draft and all kinds of things we had met. But really it started, I think, in spring training in the first year. I was not on his staff the first year. I was the coordinator and manager of a low A-ball club, because we didn't have many players, we didn't have a big staff, and it was kind of growing from within. So we got to know each other then, and then in '94 I was on his staff, along with Zimmer and Dwight Evans and Ron Hasse. Let me see, '94, Bill Plummer, Larry Bernarth. Bob Gebhardt was the general manager then. But anyway, Don then managed there from, the 93 season through the 98 season, and really was kind of the face of that club, even though we had really an exciting team out there with the Blake Street Bombers, and, just a lot of runs scored, a lot of home runs. I think we were the last team, and I forget right now, the last team, I think, in baseball to hit over 200 home runs and steal over 200 bases. Yeah. And I want to say it was 96.
Those are fun teams.
Yeah, that was an exciting group. Yeah, that lineup went Eric Young, Ellis Burks, Larry Walker, Galarraga, Bichette, Vinny Castilla, Walt Weiss, and Joe Girardi.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
That was a good group.
Yeah, I remember going out there for the first playoff game. Who were you guys facing?
We faced Atlanta.
Yep. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. We got beat by Atlanta. Mike Kingery was on that team. He was from Minnesota. Anyway, that's how that started. Some of those guys, that you had asked me about, that are really that strong baseball, grounded guys talking about the game, they were a lot of fun to learn from.
You were a scout for a while. I used to talk to you in press boxes a lot when you were working for Tampa Bay. Is there anything you miss about scouting? It seems to me to be a difficult life. You're not many home games. You're kind of always on the road, always in a strange place.
The thing I don't miss is being alone. You are alone a lot, so it was really great to get to a ball game and talk to some people about baseball and see what's up. The thing I missed, though, was the freedom. You know, you made your schedule. As long as you did your work, Tampa was great.
Mm-hmm.
As long as you were on top of what you needed to do, you know, they pretty much let you make your own schedule and go. Now, you didn't abuse that at all, but I guess the freedom of, you know, you got to be on time, you got to go there, but when it's over, you know, like when did you sit down and do your reports? You know, they didn't have to be in right after the game. You usually like to do that, though. But, you know, you're kind of traveling around the country all by yourself, you know, in rental cars and trains and subways and airplanes. And, you know, you got a membership to everything just because you go to the Delta Club at the airports. And
but you sound like a sports writer now.
You're right. I think I could have been a tour guide after those 5
No
years, you know, of scouting, especially to the major cities that I went to all the time.
What's the best job you've had in baseball so far?
Oh, I think when I was a third base coach in Colorado and San Francisco, the 3 most fun years in a row I think I've ever had were the last 3 in Rochester.
Really?
Oh my God, I look back at the last 3 years and think I really enjoyed those 3 years with the guys that we had and the staffs that we had and the people in Rochester that are so great. It just, from the ownership on down there, was such a really calming but yet a really exciting, you know, intense group, especially when the weather turns warm. They start showing up, you know.
It's funny because I've always thought AAA manager to be one of the most thankless jobs in baseball. You have guys angry on their way down. You have guys who are impatient on the way up. You have expectations to win and make the local owners happy. You have pressure from the big club to develop your players.
Yeah.
It always struck me as a tough job.
Well, I think it is, you know, overall, but we had a great core group of guys there, and they were glad to be with the Twins, you know, and the opportunity gave them the freedom to play. Even the guy that might be a little bit of a veteran, you know, hey, it's your turn. You might not have time to take a step backwards and learn something new. Just be who you are and give it what you have, and try and open your mind to where, you know, you love this game, play it like that, and don't worry so much about what someone else's decision is going to be. So we really had like I said, we had a core group of guys and a bunch of different personalities that all meshed, and I loved it because, you know, you abide by the Twins rules, and you're always out there trying to get better, and you're doing your work, but when you get a group of guys that look forward to playing, you know, starting the first pitch to the last, and that was kind of a little saying we had, you know, first pitch, we'd all get ready, and they did. It just, they came together really well, and they enjoyed each other. It was a lot of fun. It was a wild clubhouse just in spirit, you know, and I don't mean wild, throwing things around and stuff. It's a good core. The organization did a great job picking up free agents and bringing guys up that were on time, and yeah. But I would say Colorado. I really enjoyed Montreal, where I had spent, you know, 11 seasons early, and then 1 year back in the big leagues with Felipe. Then the 4 years in San Francisco. So both in Colorado 1 year we made the playoffs, and then San Francisco, that 100-win season we had in 2003. Just a lot of good memories, but I think a lot of that comes with thinking about Don Baylor and Felipe, you know, the 2 managers. I was really lucky, Jim. I spent 13 seasons in the big leagues with only 2 managers.
Yeah, that's rare.
Yeah.
And like you said, two great managers. And, you know, how crushing it was to the people of Montreal to have that great team, you know, and I guess 94 and not be able to finish that season off.
I wasn't there in 94,
right,
but I was in the big leagues in Colorado, and Larry Walker off that team, and John Vanderwall.
Right.
And Kent Bottenfield. Was Kent on that team? I believe so, because he showed up not long after that with the Rockies. But anyway, Larry Walker and John Vanderwall left there and came and made a big impact in Colorado. Yeah, that was disappointing, that strike here. And Montreal finally had a big lead over Atlanta, and the other teams. Yeah, that was a really good group. Many guys on that team, you know, went on to play for a long time with other clubs.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
a lot of them.
A lot.
So you interviewed for the manager's job. You're a finalist, and now you're on the big league staff with Paul. At this point in your career and your life, is your ambition to be a big league manager? Is that forefront, or is that just
my ambition right now is to be the best third base I can be for Paul and the Twins. And you know what? That whole process was fun. It was great, and it was really appreciative of all of it, but it's really over. And even though we bring it up now, I'm glad they thought of that as me. But right now, I do look at it. That is over just like a game is over. What I have to be accountable for now, and I'm so excited to be on Paul's staff and be in the big leagues with Minnesota, but it's not about the managing position anymore. To me, I've always been that way. I signed my contract to do a job. That's what I'm going to do. And so I don't think about the managing position anymore. As much as I like AAA, and I was really thankful for the opportunity, that's over with, and I'm moving on now. I'm the third base coach and infield instructor.
What's the most difficult thing about being a third base coach in the big leagues?
Well, as everybody knows, sending guys and not. The old saying, when in doubt, send them. Well, of course, the score in the inning and the outs and who's up and who's on deck and really who's in the hole. Those things, but funny as it might sound, it's the timing with the signs between the pitches, thinking like the manager now because you get to know what he might do with certain players. When that all comes together, that's a blast then because now you're right on time and you get that done. But, of course, the most difficult thing, it's just decisions at the right time at third base because sometimes you hold guys knowing that you got to have the guy in the hole get up.
Right.
We can't take a chance on something funny going on here. You want to get the RBI and the run in, but still we're down 3, and he's the one guy, that's on right now, and his run would make it down 2, but we got to get another guy on base. So there are reasons, and there's 2-out reasons too. While you send a guy, he could be out at the plate, but I'm looking forward to it. Even though we play interleague, I always was in the National League.
Right. We
always dealt with not always the 8th hitter, but of course the pitcher. Did you know you're going to pinch hit for him, or is it a decoy on deck? We're going to send him because this pitcher just doesn't hit. He doesn't swing the bat well. And we're not in a bunt situation, which most of them are pretty good bunters, but you get it. It's kind of how the game unfolds and who's on deck or who's coming to the plate. Sometimes you take a chance and send somebody, even if there's a guy in a slump, and you think it's going to be bang, bang, whereas if the guy was really locked in right now, you might hold the guy.
Right. Well, I'm glad to hear you say that because I've always thought that's the way those decisions should be made. They shouldn't be just made on our philosophy is to be aggressive and you send them and all of a sudden you're giving away 2 outs in the game. I always thought it should be more game situational, just like you just described it.
Mm-hmm. Hopefully you pre-think that and you're ready and you're ready for the action that happens. But if you don't think that, then you really get caught.
Right.
Now you're thinking, why did you send them? You're down 3 or when you're ahead, it's always a little different.
Right. I know you got to get back to work, so I'm going to give you one last quick question here. It's been 4 difficult years for the Major League team here, and you've been viewing that from, you viewed the Twins organization from afar before. Now you viewed it as a minor league manager. What do you see out of this team this year, this clubhouse? Do you see any signs of hope?
Oh, for sure. I would think, trying to put anything in order, I see a veteran leadership again that is either maturing through some of the guys that have been here the last couple of years. And face it, if the longer you're here and you stay around, you're going to become one of the mainstay guys and hopefully a leader at the same time. To me, Dozier's that example. Perkins is that example. Dunsing, guys that are filling roles and major roles. Trevor Plouffe. Joe Mauer has been here a long time, but now you bring back Hunter. And with Arcia and guys like Hicks, that have been here enough to know the big leagues now. Can they step up and be everyday guys? So when you got Kurt Suzuki behind the plate dealing with the pitching staff, and I don't mean to go through every guy, but then you got the Danny Santanas and the Escobars and Arcia, and then you got Sano and Buxton in camp. You got Kenny Vargas, who got some time last year. So I think it's a really good mix of veteran and young guys. Plus, there's a lot of energy with the youth, and Torrey Hunter's full of it.
Yes.
So I do see that, but I do think too that we feel we have the group of guys that are really going to be understanding that we have to be knowledgeable about every part of the game. This isn't about hitting and pitching only, or about defense, base running. This is about a mental preparation to go from losing 94 years in a row to not losing games. If we get beat, we get beat. But if we lose, it's not because we've made we don't want to be the team losing because we make a lot of mistakes.
Yeah.
But we can't afford not to pay attention to detail in every area, to be well-grounded in what we're trying to accomplish in that game. So if the game goes a little upside down, it's because the other team beat us. We didn't lose and just give it to them. And I think if we play real clean, crisp baseball with a mentality that we know what we're doing and we can control what we're up to, then the hitting and pitching kind of take care of themselves. And then I think we'll have a lot of chances to win games at the end. Because if we hang around through 7, 8, and get in that 9th, that's anybody's game when it comes down to one inning. But we need to be ready, as you know. But I think we got the group to do that. I'm not saying that we're going to be picked to win, but we know what we've done, I think, the last 4 years, and it's nobody's fault. We just need to be better at a lot of things, and I think we got the group to do that.
Well, there's a saying I've always heard, which is you're going to probably win 60, you're probably going to lose 60, is how those 40 swing games go, and a lot of those come down to situations and thinking.
Right. And we just need to be really good at that again, and I think the Twins have a great reputation for always having well-educated players, and that's a credit to the minor league system, especially for the guys that came through the system.
That's Gene Glynn, Twins third base coach, Minnesota native, Mankato State superstar. Gene, I want to get you laughing there. I appreciate the time, Gene, and we will be talking again soon. Thanks a lot.
Okay, thanks, Jim.